and welcome to What a Waste episode 1, the environment in a pandemic. In these uncertain times, it's always, really reassuring to hear something positive. So when most people saw the articles or posts on social media about how nature is thriving, this was, good news a lot of people needed. But, how true is this? We'll be discussing this and more in today's episode. So with me today is my co-host Emily.
Hello.
So have you seen any of these sort of posts online?
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff online. You can see the Venice canals, how much they've cleared up since the start of lockdown. I got an aerial image actually that you can see the difference in the traffic. Put up on the screen. Obviously, you have in places like India into big cities, there's monkeys, dogs, cows, just like sort of roaming the streets. Sort of animals are sort of coming back in as everyone's gone inside. Yeah. In the UK, the roadkill's gone down by 2/3, which is great. Especially for hedgehogs, they are the main victim. Yeah. And then, obviously, because of travel restrictions, animal trafficking has been impeded. So this is all like really positive. I mean, I carried on reading these kind of articles, and you sort of start to see more negative things. Like I didn't think about, for example, the poaching's gone up massively, especially in poorer countries. Like, people are doing it to survive almost. I mean, some people are doing it in gangs, sort of just as a time killer and as a hobby, but some people sort of use out of much choice. So animals are being left with less protection. But
yeah, I genuinely didn't even think about that poaching one. Like, yeah,
well, it doesn't occur to you, does it, if it doesn't affect you?
Exactly. So for us, since the start of lockdown, because we've been forced to adjust our lives and live without non-essentials, there's been a massive drop in carbon emissions. I believe Emily's got some statistics on this.
Yeah, I mean, in the UK, the emissions have dropped by, 48%? The USA, 7.5%. I mean, obviously didn't have a formal lockdown like we did, but still. China's 18%. So, this just gives us hope of what could be after lockdown, because science have said how important it is that this year we reduce our emissions. But yeah. I mean, I don't know how likely it is that this behaviour will stick once it's lifted.
Yeah, I feel like some behaviours will be harder to keep after lockdown, but definitely one I think we should look at is for people to work from home more, especially, in the age of the internet, and you have video calling. Like, it's so much easier now. But up to half of the UK have been able to do this during lockdown. So even if a small portion of those people could work from home maybe twice a week, then that would reduce your carbon footprint so much, and that would have, such a good benefit on the environment.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing is, people travelling halfway across the world for a couple of hours for a meeting and coming back in about 24 hours. It's just, there's so much digital stuff out there. Like, for example, video calling, you could just do an interview over there without, just seems quite necessary, a lot of it.
Yeah, another thing about travel that I've been trying to change is walking more rather than, driving 5 minutes down the road. You can walk, that's good for your mental health, for your physical health, and obviously benefits the environment. But obviously not everywhere is in walking distance, so that can be, quite limiting. However, a good solution to this is to cycle places, and quite a few cities, mainly in Europe, such as London and Milan, are trying to install more cycle lanes to encourage this. Actually, a new cycle lane has been installed in Park Lane, and they've actually gone to the effort of installing bollards to segregate cyclists and other road users, as that can be quite intimidating, especially for an experienced cyclist to deal with cars, and especially angry drivers in London. But this obviously isn't just happening in London. Paris and Milan, they have announced a transport recovery program where they're replacing a lot of roads with cycling and pedestrian lanes. So obviously this is a good change.
Yeah, I mean, it's very, very positive, but, still just this change alone is not enough to reduce decades of carbon emissions.
Yeah, I feel like only really what we need is like a worldwide change. Like, a lot of these changes are in major cities, and they're only really in Europe. And, Europe can't just do it alone. We need help from every other country and continent. So I feel like really a worldwide structured change can really make a lasting impact. And I feel like if governments around the world acted on climate change more similarly with how they have with COVID-19, I feel like we'd be more likely to avoid future catastrophes that are a lot more, deadly than a pandemic, and a lot more permanent. I just feel like the government have shown they are capable of change and drastic change in such a short amount of time, but they're only doing it sort of when they have to. And I feel like if the government don't make a change, and people are just going to go back to their old habits.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, I guess also people are picking up new habits in lockdown as well. For example, online shopping's a big one.
Oh, definitely.
Because, obviously people are just sort of stuck at home, bored, sort of a bit of a time filler, something to do.
Yeah, I feel like this is understandable for like the essential things like food, obviously, and toiletries, but because the non-essentials that we can't get in shops, they're still available online. Are people taking advantage of that, like the accessibility of everything online? And then, are they taking advantage of this? So we've actually interviewed a couple of people on their shopping habits during lockdown. So do you think that you are shopping online more during lockdown?
I think so, because there's more time to do that sort of thing, and you're not doing much, so it sort of just passes time.
Yeah, I would say so. Online shopping.
Buying more of different stuff, so I'm buying more like clothes online.
Do you think you're producing like more waste from all the packaging, or?
There's definitely a lot more plastic because of like clothing is like delivered in plastic mostly, so yeah.
And probably with the packaging, yeah, the plastic packaging.
Probably, yeah, because when you order stuff online, it comes in like loads of packaging, and like every single item of clothing is wrapped in a plastic packaging, and also it's all fast fashion, so it's all from websites like ASOS and Misguided and places where it's fast fashion, so it's quite bad for the environment.
Are you more likely to order sort of like unnecessary stuff, like, oh, I might as well just buy that?
Yeah, I definitely think so, because it's just something to do, really.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, because you're just bored, like when you're just at home, so nothing, you can just online shop, and I'm not going out.
I mean, I find that really interesting that, three, very different people, different ages, are in the same boat of ordering stuff online for a time filler or, something to look forward to rather than, oh, I actually need this. I find that really interesting. And also that they're all aware that they're producing more waste, but don't really know what to do about that. I think that's really interesting as well. It's important to receive information on topics like this, but it can sometimes be really hard to find actual advice on how to, help and making change. So here are some tips to stay eco-friendly during lockdown.
Yeah, I think one of the main ones is, if you can, buy in bulk rather than individual items from different places, just because it will massively reduce the amount of packaging that's being used.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like a big thing people need to focus on is to continue to recycle. Obviously, a lot of other things are going on at the moment, but recycling has such a huge impact. And that also allows, new products to be made from the recycled goods.
Yeah, definitely keep recycling, but also, if you can, just try and reduce the amount of single-use products you're using, such as plastic bottles and stuff. I think people probably are doing this more at the moment, aren't they, really?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people's excuse for using, especially going out and buying, I don't know, a bottle of water, people going, oh, I just was thirsty, and I had to go and buy one.
Work.
Exactly, and because you can't do that properly at the moment, people, if they're going to beauty spots, they're taking a bottle of water with them. So, if people can have this habit in lockdown and continue it out of lockdown, this can have, a really good effect.
Yeah, hopefully it'll stick more.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously you can prioritize walking places rather than driving. That's a big thing. And obviously now that we can go further and go to beauty spots and as beaches, but you can get the same amount as exercise, just locally as well. And also something I found was really cool was face masks. You can actually make them out of old t-shirts. Obviously face masks are in high demand at the moment. NHS staff need a lot of PPE and they're not getting a lot of it. So rather than us, everyday people that don't necessarily need PPE every day, we can use stuff like old t-shirts. I actually found a really cool thing online about it. So rather than just, either buying disposable stuff that is in demand with key workers, you can actually use an old t-shirt that you probably would have chucked out anyway. So I think that was really cool as well. So to bring you more information, we interviewed Morgan and Alison, some environmental activists.
grow something, even something very small, on your windowsill, like some sprouts and beans, have them with your lunch. It's fun growing things, it's very good for you, and it saves all that extra shopping. That's one thing.
It's actually quite easy to be green during lockdown because of the enforced, stay at home that we've had. So obviously people aren't able to be travelling so much, and using petrol and that sort of thing in the cars. So that in itself is good, and also less incentive to be shopping. It's less easy because the shops are closed. So the whole thing has been encouraging a simpler lifestyle, which is actually greener. People working from home, all that sort of thing. And making things. People are baking and being creative, and all that's good, and I think people are enjoying it as well. So if there's 4 main areas for carbon emissions, that would be energy at home, travelling, food, what you eat, and buying stuff. So we've spent quite a lot on the house with really good insulation and solar panels for renewable energy and an air source heat pump. So we've decarbonised our heating system, so our fuel bills are really low, and because of that we can spend more on food. So we deliberately choose to buy organic food usually,
And locally grown.
Yeah. So seasonal, and shopping local as well at the Bath Road, and growing our own as well, and mainly vegetarian. So we save money there with not buying so much meat, and then travelling. We've got a small car with no car tax, so it's energy efficient. It's not electric car, it uses petrol, but and we think carefully about when we use it, and try and travel on public transport. Well, not just on its own. I mean, it's been good, but that's what we need to do all the time. It's been it's shown us to what extent things do need to change to make a lasting effect on the environment, I think. But again, it shows it's possible with a planned thing.
And possibly enjoyable too, often enjoyable too.
Well, I think that, to come back to what you said about it being enjoyable, so the things that are enjoyable, hopefully people will, why wouldn't they carry on? So I know a lot of people who've been working from home for the first time, and it's been really good, rather than commuting to Bristol or something like that. So I mean, it needs a bit of encouragement, from the companies they work for and from the government, so that sort of thing, and the things that have really worked from a green perspective can be kept in place and encouraged, really. But it does worry me. I mean, people do need to be thoughtful, but I think it's a good chance for the good things about this to be continued into the future.
Well, the cycle paths and making it easier cycling.
Yeah, I think with the public transport, travelling on buses and trains, that is difficult because it's because it is a risk at the moment, so that will have to be thought about, but certainly encouraging cycling and walking, that sort of thing, and working from home, and like I said, and there are a lot of things that if you think about what would be it's a chance to think about what would be the best thing for climate change and improving carbon emissions. It's an opportunity because things have to change to be thoughtful about it and bring in those changes. So and setting a good example, that would be good for councils and the government to do. So if they could meet online and if that's makes it all more public as well, that more people can sort of scrutinise what they're doing, and it could all be good for democracy.
So thank you, Morgan and Alison, for that information. If you're looking for more tips and advice, there are loads of great social media accounts out there. I'll put some up on the screen, on Instagram, Facebook, all that.
Yeah, Twitter's a really good one.
Oh, yeah, Twitter.
Yeah. So now that we have evidence of what we can actually do in slowing climate change, this can be seen as a more realistic goal and shows that we're actually capable of change when it's necessary. Hopefully, world leaders and governments can see this as something to inspire more change globally, and everyday people can realise the consequence of their behaviour. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you to my co-host Emily.
Thanks, guys.
Hope you all stay safe and wash your hands. Bye.
Bye.